Hi, I'm Dave Vickers and welcome to the Photo Show. In today's episode, we're doing the 7th part of our basic photography course. Now in episode 2 we were looking at shutter speed and I was explaining exactly what shutter speed was and how it is used to control the amount of light that reaches the sensor in your camera. But in that I also said that shutter speed could be used to record periods of time. And in this episode we're going to delve deeper into that and show you exactly how you use your shutter speed to record a period of time. So if you want to go back and check out the earlier episode on shutter speed, I'll put a link up here and you can go straight to that. But basically what we were saying was that shutter speed is measured in fractions of a second. The shutter on your camera will open and close for a specific amount of time. And this is normally measured in fractions of a second. 1/250th of a second, 1/25th of a second, 1/60th of a second are all typical shutter speed values. And that refers to the amount of time that the shutter opens and closes to allow the light to pass through. If your camera is set on 1/60th of a second, when you press the shutter will open and close in 1/60th of a second. So the shutter is literally opening and closing for a split second. Now this can be utilised in photography to actually record the amount of time of an event that you're photographing. So if you're photographing something fast, like a sports event, wildlife, or as we've done here, simply dropping fruit into a bowl of water, and you want to freeze the action, you're going to use a very fast shutter speed because the shutter is open and closed for a very short period of time and therefore is recording a very short period of time. On the flip side, if you want to photograph something that is showing a period of time, for example, trails from car lights on the road at night or fireworks exploding in the air, you're going to use a longer shutter speed because the shutter is opened and closed for a longer period of time, therefore recording a longer period of time. Now I've set up a little experiment just to show you how shutter speed is used to record a period of time. It's really simple. All I'm using is a camera and a flashlight or a torch, depending where you live. So let's go over and have a look at that now and we'll demonstrate how shutter speed is used to record a period of time. So I'm going to set up a really simple experiment to show you how shutter speed records time. I've basically got a flashlight or torch, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle that's going to take me roughly 1 second to complete a circle. Then we're going to photograph that at varying different shutter speeds. So with the shutter speed set to 1 second, we should be able to see a complete circle. And with the shutter speed set at half a second, we should only be able to see half a circle. So let's set the camera up and I'll demonstrate how shutter speed can be used to record time. This is now at 1/60th of a second. You can see we've recorded very little of the actual time. Try it again at 1/30th of a second. And I'm trying to repeat the same movement every single time. So 1/30th of a second. There you can go. You can see we got slightly longer than we did at 1/60th of a second. Okay, this is now at 1/4 of a second. Okay, and now let's slow down to half a second. And you can see there at half a second, we're capturing half of the circle. Slow back down to 1 second, and now we should be able to complete the circle. And there we go, at 1 second, we've completed the circle. This is just showing you how shutter speed is used to record time. At the varying shutter speed, we were only able to record certain parts of the circle. Once we got to a shutter speed of 1 second, and it takes me 1 second to complete the circle, we are there drawing the entire circle. And as you can see, what we're demonstrating here is how shutter speed records time. At the faster shutter speeds, we weren't able to complete the circle. But if it takes me 1 second to complete the circle with the light, and we have the shutter speed on a 1 second shutter, so it's opening and closing for 1 second, it's able to record that entire period of time. And again, you can take this even further. If you slow the camera down even more, you're recording a longer period of time. So let's slow the camera down to 2 seconds. So we've now slowed the camera down to 2 seconds, and now that should allow us to try something different. So all the movement I was making with the torch is now recorded on the image. Try that again. And if you want to, you can even try and get a little bit artistic. So there you go, hopefully that's demonstrated how shutter speed can be used to record a period of time. Now one thing to remember, if you are using a slower shutter speed, you're going to need to put the camera on a tripod or some sort of stable surface. Because not only are you recording the movement within the image, but you will also record any movement within the camera. And at slower shutter speeds, even the slightest movement in the camera will show up in your image of what's called camera shake. Now there is a very basic rule of thumb that you can use with shutter speed, and that's to use a shutter speed that is no slower than the focal length of your lens. So what do I mean by that? For example, if you're using a 50mm lens, don't put the shutter speed lower than 1/50th of a second. If you're using a 200mm lens, try not have the shutter speed any slower than 200th of a second, and this way you should be able to avoid getting camera shake in your images. I'll explain in a later episode when we're looking at lenses as to why this works. But the basic rule of thumb is, if you're hand holding your camera, don't use a shutter speed that's slower than the focal length of your lens. So there we go, I hope we've explained how shutter speed can be used to record a period of time, and how you can avoid getting camera shake in your images. In the next episode, we'll be taking a more detailed look into depth of field. For now, I'm Dave Vickers, this is The Photo Show, please stay safe and well, and we'll see you in the next episode.